Well, hello everybody on YouTube. We're gonna do a sketchbook tour today because I'm sick and I'm bored, and so excuse my raspy voice. And I've seen a bunch of other people do this, and people always love my sketchbooks, so I figured, you know what, let's start a sketchbook tour while we're delusional and sick. This gave me an opportunity to like slap all my most recent stickers that I got during this time of my life. Which has been really cool. We got a McDonald's, number 66. That's my birthday. It's my lucky number. Of course, I never actually finished this intro page, so I just let me just stick my name on it and get it going. We were trying to start it out as we successfully finished it as this, but it turned into journaling and sketching at the same time. Two things, I never liked journaling, but this kind of helped integrate them both together. So this was like very intentionally created journaling and sketching at the same time. So that's why you have a lot of this is intention building as to, how I want to format my day. We've got a little bit of live drawing here from Switzerland at the zoo, Swiss Army Man scene. This is just drawing random people. We have some OC character sketches for my story that I was working on. For a couple months I was pretty heavily, figuring out this story that I had kind of role played with a friend in high school, and it became way bigger than it became huge. We have so many characters. It's awesome. Eventually, one day, I will actually create this story and make it into a consumable format for my viewers. But in the meantime, you get to enjoy these little sketches. I was also doing a lot of live figure drawing. And so this is what these are from, which I mean, great models. This is a different McDonald's. I was eating a lot of McDonald's in Europe. My bad. No, it was good out there. The same model. She brought her dog. That was the first dog model drawing session, which was awesome. One of my favorites. I don't even remember what this was. I think I saw the boy and heron. And then that was I don't know, some wolf thing. Here we have, we've got more from the story that I was making, but I was really tapping into my middle school self, where I'd do all these really funny comics just by myself with my characters, and honestly it kept me so sane, and it was beautiful. And so I'm really happy that I kind of got to tap into that again, and I haven't done that for a while, so I should go back to it. And of course I became an ACOTAR girly. For those of you who know, you know. And we have a little bit of assless chaps here. Fun fact, when I was drawing this, I was in a Starbucks, and someone came over and was like, wow, you're really good at drawing. And I immediately covered it, and I was like, oh, thank you very much. And I was when he asked to see my work, I kind of flipped over the book and showed him this page, which this page is not much better. But whatever, it's the hazard of being an artist. You're gonna have a couple little tushies, a couple little naked people. You gotta do what you gotta do. I went to my jiu-jitsu gym and did some little live drawing while they were doing a competition, because I don't want to just sit awkwardly and watch. And there was a dog. And then I embarked upon, this was a road trip drawing, but this I had to come back to. But I was traveling through North Carolina, trying to turn it more into a scrapbook kind of feel. But I'm trying to, bring my actual real world experience into my drawing. Most of the time I kept it very intentionally separate, because I was I do not want my art to be, it's informed always by the real world, but never referential to it. But now I'm you know what, I normally hate autobiographical stuff by artists, but I'm you know what, that's because I want to do it my own way. And now I'm trying to learn how to do it my own way and make it something that I like, and I've been really enjoying it too much, so I understand why people do autobiographical stuff. So I took a little trip to Denver at this point. I think that was these we we saw Dune, so of course Fade Ralpha made it. Then I went to go see the eclipse, and this was kind of more of like a journaling. I was going through a little bit of stuff. I mean, and the thing is, when you see the journaling, when you see the art's really good and the journaling's really good, that means your girl's going through it. But then I make like really cool art, so it's kind of like this weird. They say like, you know, the suffering artist, but this is also more like artist therapy, art is necessity, and like it's kind of this like weird beautiful silver lining that like we are able to take pain and turn it into something beautiful. So it's not like a bad thing, but it's not a good thing, but it's, you know, whatever, you make the most of what you're given. Awesome stuff. Yeah, I really like some of the stuff that went on in there. I took a little like how to make paint class, and I was like, oh, let me take some notes, let me feel like I'm in school again. This I went to Botanical Gardens. This actually was like another like foundational piece, but a lot of the times when I do drawing from life, I'll kind of keep everything separate, but this was the first time that I like, and like I'll frame things out, but they'll still be like different comic panels. But this is the first time that I like framed something out, and then I used another illustration to frame it, to then like bring in another illustration. Like this was the first time it like came together, which was like super magical for me. And like this has helped inform future work, but also, and like we're still keeping the journaling in there, very important, but then also incorporating like little mystical parts too that like were definitely not there, but taking a lot of that artistic freedom to like add in my own personal flair, which is again merging like the reality with my imagination and really like getting in there. So, and then I kind of like went ham with these. It was like I ended up taking like day trips, or later this was on a road trip, where like that day was literally just like going different places and drawing, because like I had nothing to do. So I was like, you know what, let me like take a little hike, let me like go eat somewhere and whatever. So, and this is a good reason to just like sit for an hour and just like doodle. This is at Savannah, Georgia. I was like totally spooked I was gonna get eaten by an alligator the whole time, which I mean happens every time I'm out there. It's just overactive imagination. My favorite was I came here to draw, not to die. And I was like, I said that to myself randomly while I was, you know, walking through this little like preserve. And then I was like, oh, that's a good one, let me write it down. And then I use this a little bit more as like kind of like a field guide, like these are the animals here, these are the plants here, and then also like the city in the back. So I was at a festival and I had to do some sketches for a mural. Then I went to the Natural History Museum at the end of my road trip. This was less about the realism and more about like feeling the bones and like looking at it and understanding it. So it was like detaching from like the result of how it's supposed to look. So that's why like this page I'm not like super hyped about or proud of, because it's like it's not about the drawing itself. It was more about like the experience and kind of like, you know, it was about like me making it and me learning. So this page, I also have a habit of drawing upside down sometimes because I'm left-handed, so it's easier for the page to be on the right. So sometimes if it's over here, I just flip it, and then it feels like it's like some mystical codex that people have to like, you know, a big thing in my more recent work is like hiding things or making people like work to find the art or work to read the things. Like that's why I kind of do these like really stretched text, or even like sometimes I just make text intentionally messy so people can't read it, or like they really have to try hard to like decode to figure out what it is, because ultimately most of the time that is like much more vulnerable stuff or stuff that I don't want people to read, so I make it hard for them to read. And then at that point it's like, okay, well, if you work that hard to read it, then you deserve to read it, and maybe that is something that you need to read, or you know, maybe it's something that will impact you. But if someone is just like, oh, I don't really care about that, like then like, you know, it's not for them. So in the same way, it's like I intentionally make things hard for people, because it's like you got to work for it, and like that makes things so much better if you work for them sometimes. So this was just like portrait practice and like random stuff on Pinterest that I found. And this was how I brainstorm for like zines and comics. Instead of like thinking about it panel to panel, I think about like different scenes or iconic moments, or I'll kind of like journal through the story or what the characters are saying to each other. And then afterwards, when it comes to actually like framing them or putting them in like the panels, it's easier for me to take something existing and like fit it where it feels appropriate, or like make new panels to kind of piece them together. But this is more just like feeling the story out and like existing in it through a page. And most of the time it'll kind of like, or I'll kind of like, there's different like forms in which my hand will flow, which makes it readable. But like most of the time, I guess a normal person wouldn't be able to tell like what goes first. So fun stuff. And again, I did the same thing here, so we'll go here first. And this one, I think I started this way, and then I kind of like, so that's always fun. And this one, on the other one, was like really heavy on the journaling and like practicing the full vulnerability as an artist, because that's not something that I've been used to doing, but whatever, they say like the job of an artist is to be vulnerable, and I haven't been doing that. And so maybe now it's time we cut the heart out and bleed out in front of the viewers and see what happens. Thank you for coming to my sketchbook tour, guys. So yeah, this was another like story thing that I kind of came up with in middle school. Well, I'd say maybe high school. And then it was like given new context with a lot of this new life information I've had the past 15 years. So it's been really cool how these like stories kind of have grown with me, and how maybe it's finally time to like create them and put them out in the world. So this is a continuation actually of this comic, which like I'm not sure if that's actually where the story's gonna go, but in that moment, that's kind of how I needed to process that. So interesting to kind of see all the different like potential alternate realities of like how these stories will take shape. This one was a great hike, a whole day. I ended up like canceling plans with like 3 different people because I was like, oh, sorry guys, I'm lost in the woods. I'm addicted to drawing. So, and I don't know what happened here, but like I think it got wet, but the ink looks really cool. So, and this is like a lot of these things were either like things that I was thinking about that day, or like quotes from songs that I was listening to, and just kind of like practicing how to use like the framing of the trees to create composition. And then like what I'm super proud of is like using like these little like things and like this strand that'll like go all the way down, and like you've got a lot of these horizontals, and like yeah, I mean, just look at it, you'll figure it out. So really having a fun time with that. And here I am flipping the wrong way. Yeah, this one was another like just practicing, just sketching, doodling. Sometimes if I got no ideas, I'll just go on Pinterest and be like, okay, what do I want to draw today? All right, big arms, yeah. Yeah, lizards, yeah, lizards with big arms, maybe. And then I was reading Annihilation, and that was a phenomenal book, and that really like helped change the way I was seeing certain things, or like how I could change my art a little bit. And then I did take this little hike at a lighthouse, which there is a lighthouse in the book, and so I was like, holy crap, I am literally walking in that book right now. So how else could I emulsify, I don't know, merge my fantasy with my reality better than like the book and my art, like ooh. And so I did do a couple sketches of where I literally was, and then a couple sketches inspired by the book, and then it was just kind of like mind meshing. Like there's this quote that says basically that you are not a trusted source or narrative, and that your memory can be, misremembered. So it's like if you remember an event poorly, someone else could remember that event positively, and like that event could be completely neutral. And I mean, most of the time everything in time and like nature and everything is neutral. It is just how we remember it is how it changes it. So in this situation, if I'm drawing a natural location or just walking somewhere, and then I'm remembering it potentially differently, or even recording it differently, or remembering it in accordance to that book. And the book, I feel like I've experienced because it's also a memory, because I've also lived it as reading the book. So if I can kind of like trick my memory into meshing those things two together, then I could potentially successfully convince and trick my brain into thinking that I actually was there. And like if I record it like this, then like who's to say that this wasn't actually there? And it's like, this could be just as true as any other of these like actually recorded hikes. So yeah, there's my delusional sickness brain trying to convince you to like mess with your own memory, but in like a really cool, positive, fantastical way. Because like, why not? Why not make life interesting? So yeah, I think so. This was more like quotes from the book. It's still all the same like pieces pretty much, whether it's quotes from a book or quotes from my head or quotes from a song. Like it's all just words and then images, and then like putting that together. It's like all the ingredients are the same. We're just making like really cool stuff. And then that's the end of that book. We've got these little characters. These guys are really become important to me the past couple of months. And maybe you'll see them in a future sketchbook. And that's the end of that sketchbook tour. Thank you all for coming along with me. Ta-ta.